He's charming. He's attentive. He makes every woman feel like she's the only one. And she has absolutely no idea there are three others feeling the exact same way. How does someone pull that off? And more importantly, why do they need to? The answer is darker than most people expect. We've all heard of that guy. Maybe you know him personally. Maybe you've dated him. Maybe, and this one stings, maybe you are him. He doesn't seem like a bad person on the surface. In fact, that's the confusing part. He's warm. He's present. He says the right things at the right time. But behind that warmth is a pattern, a calculated, sometimes even unconscious, system of keeping multiple women emotionally attached to him at the same time. And here's what nobody tells you. This behavior isn't really about the women at all. It never was. Picture a guy named Marcus. By every visible measure, Marcus is a catch. Good job, decent looks, great sense of humor. He remembers your favorite drink. He texts back fast. He makes you feel seen. What his girlfriend Sarah doesn't know is that he's having dinner with Jane on Tuesday and checking in on Carissa every Sunday morning like clockwork. None of them know about each other. And Marcus, he doesn't see himself as a bad person. In his mind, he genuinely cares about all of them. That's the part that's hardest to understand from the outside. How can someone claim to care about people they're actively deceiving? That's not a moral question. That's a psychological one. And the answer starts much earlier than any of these relationships. Psychologists who study relationship behavior have identified a pattern called emotional avoidant attachment, combined with what's known as narcissistic supply seeking. Let's break that down simply. From a very young age, some people learn, usually through painful experience, that depending on one person for emotional connection is dangerous. Maybe a parent was inconsistent, present one day, emotionally unavailable the next. Maybe love was something that could be withdrawn at any moment. So the developing mind makes a quiet, unconscious decision. Never put all your emotional eggs in one basket. Fast forward to adulthood. That same boy is now a man who instinctively hedges his emotional bets. Multiple women means multiple sources of validation, multiple sources of comfort, multiple safety nets. If one relationship feels shaky, there's always another to fall back on. This is called emotional diversification. And for the person doing it, it doesn't feel like cruelty. It feels like survival. There's also something called the Coolidge effect, a well-documented psychological and biological phenomenon where the brain releases higher levels of dopamine in response to novelty. New romantic interest literally produces a chemical high. Some men become almost addicted to that feeling, the early rush, the chase, the excitement of someone new finding them attractive. One relationship can't compete with that cycle, so they never stop adding to it. You see this pattern show up in very specific ways. Notice how these men are almost always exceptional at the beginning of a relationship. The first few weeks or months, incredible, attentive, passionate, communicative. But the moment things become too comfortable, too real, something in them pulls back. Suddenly they're less available. The spark seems to fade. That's not a coincidence. That's the dopamine dropping, the novelty wearing off. And instead of doing the deeper work of building genuine intimacy, which requires vulnerability, consistency, and emotional risk, they go find that feeling somewhere else. There's also a control element most people overlook. Having multiple partners creates a quiet power dynamic. No single person has full access to him. No single person can fully leave him and destroy him emotionally. He's always protected, always in control of how much anyone can hurt him. Think about that. Underneath all the charm, there's often a man who is deeply afraid. Afraid of real commitment. Afraid of being truly known by one person. Afraid that if someone saw all of him, the real, unperforming version, they would leave. So he never lets anyone get that close. Here's what this behavior really reveals about human nature. We often assume that people who hurt others in relationships are confident, powerful, in control. But behavioral psychology tells a different story. The man with 5 girlfriends is almost never the most confident man in the room. He's often the most fragile. Every relationship he maintains is really a question he's asking the universe. Am I lovable? Am I enough? Do I matter? And because no single answer ever fully satisfies him, he keeps asking, over and over, to different women in different cities, through different phone numbers. Psychologist Dr. Robert Weiss, who has studied compulsive relationship behavior for decades, describes this kind of behavior as an intimacy disorder, not a moral failing, but a learned response to early emotional wounds that were never properly healed. That doesn't excuse the behavior. The women being deceived are real people experiencing real pain, but it does explain why telling this kind of man to just stop almost never works, because he's not filling a desire, he's filling a void, and a void doesn't close just because someone asks it to. Here's the uncomfortable truth this all points to. The men who need the most love are often the ones least capable of receiving it from a single source, and the women who give the most to these relationships are often the ones who walk away the most empty. Real intimacy, the kind that actually heals people, requires something that no amount of options can replace. It requires stillness, the willingness to stay, to be seen, to stop running. And until that man finds the courage to sit with himself, truly, uncomfortably sit with himself, no number of relationships will ever be enough, because you can't fill an emotional wound with attention. You can only fill it with truth. So here's the question I'll leave you with. Have you ever stayed in motion, in relationships, in life, just to avoid sitting alone with yourself? You don't have to answer out loud, but be honest.